Hello and welcome to Off the Record. This past weekend, Jesse and I went to musical shows. I moved, Jesse ate Chinese food, and now we're back with you guys, and we missed you dearly.
Oh, we did?
I can't eat Chinese food anymore, and Jesse does it to bother me.
You know what's funny is I don't eat bulletproof Chinese.
What does that mean?
Bulletproof Chinese is a saying, like picture on the wall Chinese is another synonym. But bulletproof Chinese is usually that it's in a bad area, so you have to have bulletproof glass.
Oh, I got you. Oh, wow, okay, so this is the stuff where, like, having you as my friend is okay? Like, it's worthwhile, you know?
I teach you things.
Like, terms like these, I think I could use for the rest of my life.
Yeah. So like what you'll say is like there's a designation. Like so Sichuan, which is a fancier Chinese, that's what I eat a lot of, but I don't fuck with bulletproof Chinese.
Bulletproof Chinese? I can't eat any, but I love that term. Wow.
Yeah, it was good. The ex-girlfriend who taught me that, I'm forever grateful to.
Very nice. Very nice. I moved, Jesse.
So where'd you move?
I moved 4 blocks away to 43rd and Spruce Street.
You're like me doing blocks away moves. You know, my family once moved across the street.
Like literally.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Like literally.
Well, during your childhood?
Yeah.
Were you bummed?
No, it was kind of fine.
Okay, kind of fine. I had to throw away all my stored up alcohol, that like my dead wine bottles that I kept like a college student.
Oh, that is so college student.
I was so college student. I had to make 6 trips up and down the stairs to get rid of all the bottles. Yeah. You know, wine's a habit, Jesse.
I was literally having a meeting at 1:30 in my bed, drinking a bottle last night.
A meeting
at 1:30 a.m. drinking a bottle because when you do business like me, you go hard as fuck.
Well, to keep up with Off the Record, you can go to offtherecord.fm. You can subscribe to us on iTunes. Thank you. We'll talk to you next week.
So I was going to say, I went to one of the best shows of my life.
You did? Did you see the Falling in Reverse 3-ring circus tour that's coming around the East Coast?
that is tempting, I have to tell you.
I'm very tempted to go tomorrow in Philly. Like, there's a large part of me that's like, I could just roll up to this, couldn't I?
Man, if I didn't have plans, but I'm going to see Pianos tomorw, so otherwise I would roll down there to go with you. I mean, I already got that selfie of me and Radke together.
Yeah, and we have that photo of Black Veil Brides.
Oh yes. So 4 years old.
Yeah.
No, I went to an art gallery and saw a weirdo dance show, and it was awesome.
Did you? So it wasn't. It was not punk.
Well, there was one punk band that played, but they played behind glass, and you could only hear them through the PA.
Oh, I saw this photo. So would you call that bulletproof punk?
Oh, that's good. I like that. That was very witty, Zach.
Brought it around.
We're gonna have to pass that on to Dev Hines so he can use that for his band.
I have peaked. This was my peak today.
I think that was your wittiest line of the show.
That was pretty witty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Well done.
Great. All right. We have a title now.
We'll start the show now.
Okay, we'll start the show. So last week, news broke late in the week that Fearless Records and Wind Up Records most known for my first ever favorite band, Evanescence.
What about your other favorite band, Creed?
Oh, great band. Dude, they have hits.
So wait, let's remind the kids. What were the scene bands they had? Bayside's the only one that's
So at one
coming to
point,
mind.
Drive-Thru was like, you know when everyone... Not Drive-Thru. You know at that one point in every label's, businesses, and whatever's career that they're like, oh, this thing did really well 3 years ago. Let's get on this. You know that point?
Mm-hmm.
So all at once, Wind Up signed Bayside, Cartel, and Hawthorne Heights. At the same exact time, Razor and Tie were also like, oh, we should sign bands, and signed Saves the Day, Kevin Devine, and Hit the Lights. So like these two labels did both at the same time, and they all failed. But currently, Wind Up Records, I think, truly has Evanescence and like Evanescence.
Evanescence still puts out records?
Oh, they still sell records, man.
Oh, I had no idea. I thought the girl went like solo or something.
I don't know. Maybe they have Seether.
See, I'm not trusting your musical knowledge of the past so much because I just listened to that podcast you and Evan did where he guided.
Oh, you listened?
Well, I had to give up because he was playing you so much bad music that I didn't want to be reminded of how terrible that was.
It seemed like the 90s were a dark time.
Well, no, I think what Evan did is he just played you the worst of the 90s and really pretended that was the 90s.
Huh.
I would argue there could be better curation done of the 90s. I think I tapped out after like 6 songs. Like once you guys got to Uncle Kracker and started talking about good kid rock songs, I realized that you really are the most culturally illiterate, smart person I've ever met.
I'm very culturally illiterate. Yeah, that's accurate. It was hard for me to realize, like, that Wheatus song, I had never heard it before, and I really thought it was a female vocalist. Like, I would put money on it.
This is another one. That's a terrible fucking song.
But people love that song.
Fuckboys love that song.
Hey, well, I guess I'm not a fuckboy.
Mm.
Also, oh man, I don't know. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to the 90s.
So are you upset now about the 90s revival?
I guess I have to be. Like, this seems like it's going to be bad for me.
There's parts of the 90s revival that are really upsetting, but then the thing that's the most upsetting about the 90s revival is it's the last decent revival before every revival that's terrible. Like, let's just keep this in mind. New metal revival, that Uncle Kracker Fastlane type sound revival.
Fastlane, what was that, man?
It's the worst shit ever. It is literally the worst music ever made, and like I can remember just being young and punk as fuck and just being like, I had something to rebel against when music was that bad. Like now, the pop music and the rock music is just mediocre bullshit in like a much less offensive way. Foo Fighters continuing to put out shitty records is far less offensive. Actually, Imagine Dragons is pretty offensive to me. I would rebel against that. They're fuckboys.
They're fuckboys. Okay, well, what were we talking about? Oh, one very important label to our music scene was bought last week. Full disclaimer, I day-to-day manage real friends who are on Fearless Records. Fearless Records was bought by Concord Bicycle Music, which I had never heard before. Had you?
I have heard of this because I can remember the last time I heard about them when I read a article on Billboard, and I said, wow, that's a stupid name for a music group.
And so they bought Fearless for $10 million, and their whole back catalog and their current roster.
So now, as a man on the inside, Zach,
yes,
can you tell us, were the bands fearful of this acquisition? Like, you went like if anybody watched the fantastic documentary of Nirvana, The Montage of Heck.
Still haven't watched it.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch it.
Okay. Well, so
I have
here's
HBO
the point.
now, so.
Oh, yes. But the point I was going to make is every band, the scariest part of their existence, or if you've watched, like, it was a good illustration of it is that Believe in What You Want, Jimmy Eat World documentary that they made right after Bleed American. Have you watched that?
No, I didn't know that existed.
It's very, very hard. I got it on Netflix DVD, and I think I didn't return it because I liked it so much. I pretended I got lost in the mail. Anywho, my greater point, bands getting shuffled around labels and then you don't know the person who signed you anymore, et cetera, et cetera. That's your worst fear. Like when you're signing to a label, you're signing a contract that says basically you're being adopted by a parent, and then that parent could leave at any time and you could get stuck with a shitty stepfather. Oh. And I think it's always scary when these labels get sold. Like, how do they know that they're not going to reprioritize and say, we really want to put money back into For Other Sick as Kids instead of Real Friends because we think that MySpace core is coming back and we like fuckboy who loves Sarah Palin to be promoted.
Regarding fear, the band has not expressed any fear to me or to my boss, as far as I know. But it's interesting, like, just reading in a business, like whenever a buyout like this happens, there's always layoffs, because this is like a big music consortium, so they're going to want to consolidate. So like, why do we need 10 marketers across 5 labels if we could just have 3? Like stuff like that, right? Like a company like this buying Fearless Records wants the back catalog. They want some of the current catalog, obviously, and they definitely want to trim the fat to up the profit. That's just...
So here's the thing about the fat, why I don't buy this shit anytime anybody says this. Have you read Appetite for Self-Destruction?
No, it sounds like a Guns N' Roses album.
Nope, that's a Guns N' Roses album without the self. So this is the best book about the music and in business of all time. In fact, the fact that you host a music business podcast and haven't read this is a very scary thing to me.
I'm uncultured.
You need to read this book, is my greater point. In this book, they talk a lot about how Tommy Mottola manipulated all the people who worked in marketing, that they had to spend all their time on Mariah Carey, and all these other bands that were signed to the label at the time would get the shaft, and there's these great records that tanked because no resources were allowed to be devoted to anybody except Mariah Carey. Now note, Tommy Mottola was married to Mariah Carey as well, which makes this even more disgusting. So one of the things I always get disturbed about when it's like, well, we're going to consolidate, so we have these 5 marketing people. It's like, well, then the problem becomes, unless you're structured like Epitaph, now for the kids, Epitaph is structured where you get basically 2 people who devote their whole lives to you when you sign to them, which is very different than most labels. Usually you have one A&R man who's taking care of 8 to 15 bands at times. And then maybe there's a guy who does graphics, a guy who does YouTube, a guy who does some PR, etc. Every label situation is different, but that's a common thing. Anyway, I don't buy that this works out for the bands when it's like this consolidation of like, now we have a marketing department that we distribute across our bands for, and this will be a good thing for everybody, because I think they make decisions on who to devote their time to, and that often screws bands that have some good promise because they go too all in on the band that's the hit instead of breaking the new band that could be the hit.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm very interested. Like, so the thing about Fearless, which is particularly interesting right now, and particularly interesting about Concord buying them right now, is that they have upcoming releases from Pierce the Veil and Mayday Parade. And
do people still care about Mayday Parade? I'm asking more, not being an asshole.
So something crazy happened. So their last album, it did 30,000 copies first week and debuted at 10 out of nowhere. So the band only grew after that, and the band has a very large fall tour planned. And I would imagine the album first week will do from 30 to 50 grand. And that's 30 to 50,000. And that's very wide because I just don't know. It's hard for me to gauge, but the band has just become very big, especially with All Time Low doing the 70,000 they did or whatever. So like, I really think Mayday Parade is going to do like 40,000 copies first week, right? So that's a lot.
Yeah.
And then Pierce the Veil, I am on record as saying I would not be surprised if Pierce the Veil sold 100,000 copies of the record first week.
I agree. You know, the most band shirts I see right now are Pierce the Veil shirts.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Astoundingly, like, not even by a 2-to-1 margin do I see more Pierce the Veil shirts than any other band, aside from like classics like the Misfits and stuff like that. And I live in Brooklyn, and obviously there's a Misfits shirt everywhere. If you throw a stone, you hit one.
Pierce the Veil is just kind of taken over for a lot of the underage kids, and it's like very much like Pierce the Veil owns Hot Topic, and that's a good thing to own, frankly. And so, like, you know, if let's say Pierce the Veil sells 100,000 copies first week, that's $1 million in revenue. You know, I like they bought the label at a smart time where they have the label's 2 biggest bands releasing albums sometime this year. And so it's really interesting to see. And the back catalog is still pretty healthy, you know, like, Hey There, Delilah, I still hear it on the radio, you know?
That song, for like a pretty mediocre song, really has, because I think it hits all the perfect notes of melancholy, like you're having a bad love scene in a very boring TV show. It really like hits that note like no other song has ever hit. And it is amazing that the lasting power of arguably a very mediocre song.
Yeah, I remember distinctly like being 10 years old or 12 years old on the bus to soccer camp every day. And I think that was the first song I ever got sick of because I had like never heard a song played that much.
Wow. So looking at what Concord is, by the way, I want to just make this point. It looks like Concord's business model is to kind of buy up, like it actually looks like Fearless is one of their more active labels, because what I'm seeing when I'm looking at their catalog is they have a lot of labels that are mostly legacy, if not catalog.
Yeah. They definitely like the back catalog.
Like, I see that they have Stax, they have Vanguard, they have Sugar Hill, they have Nitro, which is, you know, basically a defunct label.
Yeah, they just bought Vanguard, which for anyone listening is the new label that actually Andrew McMahon is on, and like Matt Nathason or something is on. Like, they're mostly a catalog label, but they have like a few semi-popular current artists.
Yeah, and Rounder is a massive catalog label, but they do still put out some new stuff, but they have like a roster that is really, really insane if you're into like obscure, cool rock bands.
Yeah, so it's definitely pretty interesting to see that Fearless went for this, and like in the thing, the owner of Fearless mentioned in the piece, he was like, "We've gotten plenty of buyout offers over the years, and we would have done it if they made sense then, and this one makes sense now."
Well, what's interesting though, Fearless though for years had an upstream deal, I thought, with one label. Am I right about that?
I don't really know, but Fearless like got upstreamed bands from a smaller label called Tragic Hero.
Oh, yeah, I remember that label. They were very Risecore before Risecore.
Exactly. But also, Fearless has had at the same time, like Mayday and The Main both go to a major at the same time. But that was also when the scene was getting majorfied. So I don't really know.
Yeah, it seemed like what their business model for a while is just we're the indie you go to for cred before you go to your upstream deal.
Yeah. Totally.
Which is a business model, kids. There's many contracts these days behind the scenes where you do your indie release, then you go to the big indie, and then maybe if you do really well, kids, you too can have a shitty major label deal where you'll flop when you put out your record after you write songs with a bunch of fuckboys.
I mean, frankly, though, that's also a thing in the smaller world. Like, a lot of labels now will come to bad timing and be like, "Hey, we don't want to sign this band to Fearless, Hopeless, Rise, Triple Crown, Side 1W, whatever, yet we'd like to develop them a little more. Would you be interested in putting out an EP or two? And that's
so you're part of the farming, the band content farming game is what you're saying.
Maybe. I mean, do you think that's negative?
So I'm on two sides of this. Part of me thinks it's just silly.
So who's it negative for, right?
Okay, so this is what I'm not going to answer it that way.
Okay.
I think it's silly that we have to play these funny games of like, let's pretend that you're, doing this all on your own. You're a DIY guy and you're paying your dues. Let the kids think that, but really we're going to put our money behind you. But yeah, you have to because these fucking kids have nothing to do all day but sit in the Defend Pop Punk group all day and talk shit.
Right.
These goddamn kids. My fucking cane is in the air.
So the thing from our end is like, or I think from my end would be a lot of these labels, like any of the ones I just acknowledged, like the Fearless class sizes of labels, right? Like they're looking to sign these bands way earlier now. But those bands and the managers of those bands, I think rightfully so, are kind of like, you have like 20 other bands and they're all multiple steps larger than us. How are you going to develop or even give us time to think about us?
Yes.
And like, yeah, sure. Like our song being on your YouTube channel with 1 million subscribers is great. Like that's it, So I think a large part of the process is like, assuming, any band is going to assume, hopefully, that they're going to write good music, And so if that music can get popular on a smaller label and develop more of a homegrown fan base and not also get lost in the mix of some larger label that they'd eventually love to go to, why not? That's, of course, depending and banking on you feeling confident that you're going to be a popular band or, that people are going to like your band.
Well, which I think is always a gamble you should take.
Yeah, I would agree as well.
So with that, let's talk about another review of the dark sides of the scene. So there's this great article this week, I really enjoyed it, called Sweatshop T-Shirts Are One of Punk Rock's Biggest Hypocrisies. And so what the article basically goes on about is that the way your punk rock T-shirt gets made, and as Zach and I have discussed in the past, we both wear a lot of punk rock tees.
Yes, I am. I technically owe you a royalty for the tank top I'm wearing right now.
What do you owe me for a royalty on? Which one is it?
It's a Defend Pop Punk tank top.
Oh, nice. So most of the shirts you get are made in sweatshops. If you look at the label, it probably says made in Pakistan, made in Bangladesh, made in Honduras, whatever. And yet we all claim to care about workers' rights and da-da-da-da. And I think actually really in all reality, most bands don't give a flying fuck about this. But I think it's one of those things is that we do have bands that care about this and would care about this, but no one's talking about this. And I really like that this John Gentile wrote this article because it's something I've noticed over the years too. And I will fully admit I don't check my shirts before I order them on the interwebs or when I'm drunk at a show purchasing a T-shirt, whether they were, fair trade as the coffee I buy is every day.
Yeah. Do you make sure about that?
The closest coffee house to my apartment that tastes good is Fair Trade. I will be honest with you. If there was a more delicious place, I think I'd probably pretend I didn't see the Fair Trade sticker if it wasn't up.
Sure.
I just happened to miss it, Zach. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. So Spray Nerd is a band on Jade Tree, and we're setting up. We did a pre-order already for a 7-inch, and we're getting in the process for doing their album. And they requested actually in the contract, not just in passing, but like it is written in the contract that any like merchandise that we produce for them has to be sweatshop free.
That's great. Good for them.
And I was like, huh. Like there wasn't like a point of contention by any means. It was like, yeah, sure. But I was like, oh, I guess I have to think about this now. And that was enlightening is the wrong word, but like illuminating for me, I guess, I was like, oh, this is a thing that why wouldn't we think about this? Yeah,
I think that's the thing is we're getting to a point where we're starting to see how bad it is for workers. There's a very famous article, and actually the fastest political action I've ever seen was in Sunday's New York Times. There's a big article about how bad the conditions in New York City are for nail salon workers. And the next day, Governor Cuomo, who sucks at life, arguably, made a emergency legislation to start getting this under control because basically all these workers' tips are stolen if they're in credit cards. And, there's just horrible conditions right under our noses in the city going on. And I think that's the thing is these are good things to come out. And some people would say this is really nitpicking. But the other thing about it is I think that the point is made is that, getting shirts that aren't made in sweatshops are much more expensive. Your American Apparel shirt that is supposedly sweatshop free, I trust that company about as far as I can throw them. But, they are dramatically more expensive than your Gildan shirt.
Yes, absolutely.
But I do like the way my Gildan shirts fit me.
I do too. A lot of people don't.
Really? They must not have the taste we have.
Yeah, I'm wearing a Gildan tank. It's tank top season, Jesse.
I'm wearing my American Apparel Waves shirt right now.
Oh, boy. Boy. It's got to be good to be a fuckboy.
Buddy, just don't hate just because I'm punker than you and I can rock a Waves shirt that says Antichrist in big letters across it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you should wear that to, my graduation party or something.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize there was going to be a graduation party.
I keep forgetting. Hi, Mom. I'm sorry. I'm not really forgetting. Though I keep forgetting. And then every once in a while it pops back up in my mind when something silly happens. And you wearing that in front of my dad at my graduation party would be it.
I will be sure to wear that. Or I have a shirt that says hate the Christian right, too. I also have one that says abortion on demand without apology.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that. I just
say it. I could wear any one of these. You let me know which one your father prefers.
Okay, he can submit feedback. He can tweet us tell OTR to let him know.
Great. So moving right along.
Yes, dude, your favorite TV show's ending, and I'm sad for you.
So the only thing I'm sad about this is I have the best joke for when I meet parents of girls I'm dating, since as we know my relationships last about usually under 6 months, so I have to meet a lot of parents, and so they'll be like, oh, Jesse, do you watch American Idol? I go, no, if I want to hear people sing out of tune I just go to work.
That is a good joke.
See,
I said, Jesse, do you want to talk about this before the show started? And he said, I have a good joke. And it turned out to be it turned out to be worthwhile.
Yeah. So I think there's a very interesting thing with this, that it's so funny because I can remember so one of my last real jobs is I worked at Tower Records.
Okay.
For the kids, Tower Records was one of the bigger record chains, and what they prided themselves on is that they would be the biggest record store. They would just have so many records in there, it's insane. And so the thing I noticed is if you bought Bare Naked Ladies or Creed records, you wouldn't buy another CD aside from that. You would just buy that. And I always would say it's like, that's
Are
music
you
for people.
referring back to the episode of Simpler Sound I just did?
Oh, well, I mean, this is a coincidence that this is coming. But what I was going to say is Creed and Bare Naked Ladies were like music for people who don't actually like music. I would also go as far to say that American Idol is like music for people who don't really love music. It's just people who...
It's casual reality TV.
Yeah, and it's just... And, you know, the other arguable thing is, like, for all how huge their viewership was for so long, they continually picked people who had no real consequence on our society. Like, arguably, the two people who came from it that had the most consequence are that Kelly Clarkson girl, who I think did have a big
She still has a large career.
Yeah, and I would actually say that Since You've Been Gone is one of the game-changing pop songs of the past 20 years.
It's a hit.
And then secondly, even if they did steal the bridge from the AAS, and then secondly, Clay Aiken, and only because it's just weird that he ran for Congress. But I think Clay Aiken also got us.
There's that country girl. I don't remember her name, but there's a country girl.
Really?
Kelly? No, not Kelly. Whatever. She had like this. Never mind. But maybe that's the point.
Yeah. I just say just like for something that is so culturally humongous, it really seems like they made no impact aside from making Simon Cowell's wallet fatter.
Yes, and making a lot of money. And I get like maybe it's American Idol's fault that we have One Direction because that made Cowell so popular. And then the X Factor, and that like this is a chain reaction, you know. You see me?
I'm actually feeling you on this one. I think this is an interesting way you're going with this.
Okay, well, I'm glad. I will say I have some fond like American Idol memories, like you know, I mean that ended 10 years ago, but my mom and I think and my dad too would always watch like American Idol when I was young. And those first few seasons when I was probably in like, I don't even know if I was in middle school yet. That's why it's kind of like weird to think that American Idol won't be on the air because even though I don't watch it or ever think about it, I still see the commercial 100 times a year for 3/4 of my life.
I don't think I've ever seen an episode all the way through.
15 years is a long time. It's just crazy.
Yeah. That's a long running TV show. But you know the other thing, somebody pointed out that music TV shows, while they're very taken for granted, are also the majority of the longest running TV shows. Like American Bandstand was one of the most long running TV shows.
Didn't know that.
And they say that when you get a hit music TV show, which is not often, it does end up being a very lasting thing. And we still have The Voice, and I would argue that The Voice kind of took the model of American Idol and perfected it.
Yeah, I think it. I think it kind of took the steam away a little bit.
Just as I would argue,
like if American Idol had been like, we got a major shift, we're doing this thing now, could have been.
Just as I would argue that Jersey Shore took what the real world was doing and really perfected it.
Did you? I feel like Jesse was a big fan of the Jersey Shore.
I think I've watched the first 2.5 seasons, and after that, I think it jumped the shark. I think I've seen all of them over 6 times. Wow. I used to just put it on in the background while I'd work because it makes me so. Well, you got to remember, Zach, I grew up
watching that in New Jersey. Feels
well. Yeah, see, that's the thing is, I grew up next to those animals, and like they grew up around me. Like the towns that surround me was all Guidos, and so like, it's like growing up with animals. You grow to love that zebra you lived near, but like. If you grew up near a lion, you do have an affinity for that lion, but you don't want to get too close. So that was the thing with the Guidos, is I always wanted to keep my arm's length because they attack when you step on their sneakers.
This might be a disastrous feedback episode.
Anyway, I liked being able to watch them without the danger of getting hurt by them. But I did go see Pauly G DJ one time and did almost get my ass kicked there.
Really? Were you ignorant in the pit of DJs?
No, I mean, this girl thought it'd be a funny date, and I was trying to impress her because she was really cute. And, then this guy started to fight with me when I apparently, got a little too close to his frizzy hair.
Oh, his frizzy hair. Frizzy hair. Okay.
Yeah. So, Spotify is making a move for video.
Yes. Did you know who else does video and is a competitor of Spotify?
Tidal.
Yes. And YouTube.
I do know this. So, but do you really think that at the end of the day, this is going to make them a YouTube competitor as much as this is just going to be like a way to make Spotify, Tidal, etc. a little bit more sticky.
I think everything that we're now getting into is a game of stickiness, right? Like, I think we talked about this last week or the week before. Like, everything now is in a race to the bottom of exclusives, you know?
Race to the bottom of exclusives and how they can keep you on their site, even at the expense of a better user experience.
Yes. But ultimately I think the experience will be bad for everyone. So yeah,
I do not disagree.
So Spotify is having an event on May 20th, so sometime next week. And this is, of course, now we're seeing everyone kind of get their announcements out of the way before Apple announces whatever their Beats thing is going to be on the first week of June. And so I think, we're just going to be seeing more stuff each and every week or every few days from Spotify and Google and Rdio and Pandora. Like, I think everyone's just going to keep throwing.
Let's be honest, dog. Pandora's not announcing anything except them going to Congress to try to screw musicians even more ways.
Screw more musicians, more ways.
That's shit. Can we get somebody to Photoshop that logo for us? Pandora, screw musicians more ways each day.
I like that.
Yeah,
we should sell our first T-shirt.
It's like I'm the son of an advertising copywriter. This stuff just flows out of me.
So this is your job, saving the music industry. We did it.
Yeah, just coming up with shitty remarks to make about other streaming services.
So yeah, I don't really know what this would mean. Like, can you imagine? Look, so I have been using Spotify a good amount the last few weeks, more than I was using Rdio recently. Just to kind of try it, and like the app is pretty good, but it's not nearly great. I just don't know that I can really see Spotify being like, all right, we're doing video, and count on it. Like, it doesn't excite me. Like, I'm like, I don't want you to muck this up, guys. It seems complicated.
Okay, let's say this though. I think about what my perfect experience in a streaming music service would be, and I think about right now, I'm obsessively into Mew, who's been my favorite band for almost a decade, and this artist, Sophie. I would be thrilled if I went to Sophie's page on Streaming Music Service X. I would hit play on her song, and there I see the option to watch video, and I didn't know the video was out, and I got to go, oh, cool, there's a video for this song. I could choose to do that or stream it, and there's 2 play buttons there. That sounds like a great experience to me.
Okay. I just wonder if they can really pull, and I wonder what it means. So, like, are they signing a deal with Universal? Again, we'll see in a week, but are they going to sign a deal with Universal where every music video in the world it now gets put on there, or is it going to be like random, like, here's a new live session from Coldplay?
So you mean what Tidal's doing?
Yeah. I just wonder, like, how can you... Everyone wants the videos to be seen by the most amount of people, right?
Yes, well, but keep in mind, this is getting easier because you got to remember when you're uploading to your digital music aggregator now, you just go in, if you have a nice one, and you upload the video for that song as well, and they take care of all this for you.
Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty easy to aggregate this content.
If I would be, I don't know, I don't really want to have to... I like that I don't have to pay to watch a music... Not that I really watch music videos, but in theory, I like that I don't have to pay to watch a video on YouTube, right? Ideally, you wouldn't have to pay on Spotify.
So, well, you do pay. You have to sit through those 30-second shit ads, and I would pay $20 a month to get rid of the ads on YouTube. Because
you can do that,
On the Apple TV, you can?
On YouTube.
Okay, because the Apple TV app, I didn't think you could.
So on YouTube, if you pay for YouTube All Access Music or whatever, it actually removes all
Music Key, it's called.
Yeah.
But you can't. But see, that's the problem. I'm not talking about music videos. I go to watch like Peter Thiel speak at Stanford, and I still have to sit through 30 seconds of that bullshit.
Do you like watching, or would you be okay with just hearing it?
I put it on the background while I'm like typing emails.
Jesse, I'm going to introduce you to a service. Oh, it's called Huff Duffer. It strips the.
Are you sure? Are you sure that's not something that like people in the South do for fun on the weekends? We're going Huff Duffing, man.
I think that's why they named it that. So Huff Duffer, what it lets you do is it creates your own RSS feed, like a podcast feed, and you just plug a YouTube video into it, and it downloads the audio without the video. And if you're subscribed to the podcast feed on your podcast client of choice, you have the audio.
Oh, this sounds like heaven.
Yep.
That's pretty good. I think you just changed my life.
Yeah. For people,
I'm gonna be Huff Duffing the night away.
Oh my God, you're moving to the South. Forget across the street. So yeah, anyone who likes to watch a lot of YouTube videos, not for the videos but for the audio content like talks and stuff, Huff Duffer is a good option for you. Huffduffer.com.
I like it.
Yep. I just changed your world.
Moving on. Yeah. We've had something that we've wanted to discuss for a little while that we keep putting off, which is a service called Fluence.
Fluence.io.
So Fluence was created by one of the founders of Topspin Media, which was a service beloved to us. But Fluence it's kind of like an unwanted hand on your inner thigh to me.
Can I describe what it is?
Yeah.
From Fluence itself at Fluence.io. People-powered promotions. Connect directly to people you choose on your own terms. Join Fluence today.
Whew, that's rough.
Find and access people who can promote your work or give you feedback. Skip the middlemen and connect directly with each other. Don't waste money or expensive ad agencies or advertising that interrupts and distracts people from annoying ads. Get unprecedented levels of targeting that guarantee you the focus time and attention from people you specifically choose. So what is this?
Okay, yeah, let's put that in plain English. So music blogger, manager, label head extraordinaire, Zach Zarillo, signs up for Fluence. And what Zach can do is he can put a price on his time where if you want him to listen to your new opus of pop punk gems, he could say, that'll be $50 for me to sit through this crap, please. And then you have to pay it if you want Zach Zarillo extraordinaire to listen to it. Part of me is like, wow, I can get all my time back from and monetize the fact that I listen to all these fuckboys' terrible music sometimes and go through it. And then another part of me is like, ooh, this feels really exploitive.
Yeah, so I will actually say that I do have a Fluence account because I signed up for it whenever it was going around, on Twitter. And I get emails a bunch. I actually went in there like last week while we were talking about this last week. And it's annoying, man. I don't want to do it. So people have hit me up and have been like, hey, on the back end for, I guess I would be called an influencer. I'm not giving myself that title. So people send like auditions to you. And so I'm looking at it right now. Someone has sent me an audition on 5/9, so 3 days ago. And I could earn $1.80 on this audition. And I guess if I get past the audition, I could set more money that I'd want to make. It's just, it feels so dirty. Like, if someone came in here and was like, we'll give you $100 to listen to our song, it just feels, ugh. Like, I don't know any way that this feels like a good idea because I just can't get behind this service at all.
Yeah. So, but here's the thing, though. I think it's an interesting thing that one of the biggest things we see musicians talk about is that they believe in their music, but they just can't get anybody to listen to it. What if this actually gets it listened to? Like, I think it'd be very exploitive to just hit yes on the money and then not listen to it, which I think is sadly what a lot of people will do. But I think this could be a very interesting thing for that band that's like, man, we just can't get a break if only ever heard. I just worked with a band that they're too old to tour. But man, I think this is one of the best records I made of heavy aggressive music. And but who's going to hear it when they're not going to work that hard at getting it heard? Mm-hmm. But, there is a thing. There's lots of great bands that make great music that just can't work hard right now and like get it out there. And this could maybe give them some opportunities. And I'm all for the best music getting out to the world, not just the person with connections.
I just don't know that it's set up in a way where it can actually happen. Like, people are, I could potentially, I'm losing money potentially, technically right now by not doing this stuff, right? And it just feels wrong. Like, what happens if I hate the song? Like, you know, most music happens to not be too good, frankly.
Yes.
So, like, what am I going to do?
Well, I actually, that was just way too polite. Most music is terrible.
So I just, like, it's just hard for me to even imagine, like, you know, if you got one person that had a really good song out of 100, you'd be lucky, I think, right? And
very.
And so it's just like, oh, $5, your song sucks. And like, but I'm the kind of quote unquote influencer they want because I have a music blog, right? I have a record label and a management company. I'm ideal for that.
You could potentially launch their career into the stratosphere.
Potentially, but
make them a star.
If they have great songs at the same time, if they have bad songs that could be good, at the same time, you might actually be a better person for that because you could be like, this is what you guys need to do to make your songs better.
Sure. And I would argue that those are both great things, but I think my biggest argument also is this is the old way of doing things. And I think really at the end of the day is like everybody I know who's a manager, it's not just about whether they like it, it's seeing a good reaction to it that other people like it too.
Yeah.
That there's enthusiasm towards this band, and you're not going to be the one lone fan in the world because we all have bands we like that no one else likes.
Absolutely. We talked about this earlier.
Yeah, I mean, you for some reason can listen to New Death Cap. I mean,
my album of the year right now.
Oh my Lord, that's something.
So I don't know. The service just feels dirty to me. It feels like LinkedIn, but you have to pay money to do it, which feels like LinkedIn. The worst thing in the world. Like that. If they asked me for a quote, I'd be like LinkedIn, but you have to pay for it, and it's grosser.
That is something.
It's a good comparison.
So I don't know, but like, you know, so like with these services, and so I should say this, that like, so like this week, my updated version of my book, Get More Fans, is starting to go up on the digital stores and everything. I spent way too much time having a moral dilemma about what to put in the book about this. Because I do feel like this has the potential to maybe launch a career or two. And that this could help some people if like they actually get access to the big influencers by having, you know, by knowing who to contact and pay to actually hear them, and because they wouldn't know how to do it otherwise. I think it's the other thing too is so many bands, you know, don't listen to our wise and insightful podcast where we teach people how to get their bands a fan base, but like they don't know how to do it, they don't have the time, they don't believe it, and like part of me thinks like this could be a cool thing, but then the other part of me is like, oh, I just don't want this to be a thing.
Yeah, I don't think I want it to be a thing. I just I would love to be wrong. I'd love to hear like I feel like if there was some like beautiful story about this, we'd have it already, if that makes sense.
No, I don't think it's been around long enough. It takes a long time for like beautiful stories to happen. I think a lot of time.
Okay.
I think that's one thing that we can't see, because you got to figure, you know, let's say they get through to the equivalent of Zach Cirillo's superstar music blogger, record label manager guy. Then that guy's got to get them on things and then start doing it. That takes years at times.
That's true. Okay, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the usual. So, we have questions from our beautiful, lovely listeners that we are very grateful for. You see how much better of a mood I am this week now that I've gotten past my allergies compared to last week?
Yeah, after all the things you just said to probably piss off people. But yeah.
So the first question is, you guys talked about oversaturation of music a while ago, and I just found out that Buckethead has released 123 albums and counting since 2013.
Jesse, what do you know what a Buckethead is?
So Buckethead was the guitarist in Guns N' Roses before Bumblefoot, who presently plays guitar in Guns N' Roses.
Oh.
Take that on for size.
Okay.
So Buckethead plays with a KFC bucket of chicken on his head.
Okay.
Yes. So now, yes, Buckethead may have released 123 albums.
Oh my God, this photo.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like the fact that you haven't done your Googles on this already
is more of your
You
think KFC ignorance. Pays him?
No, I think that this is just like a
He looks weird, Jesse.
Yeah, well, so this is the thing with Buckethead, is like he's basically like an avant experimental guitarist, and we all know that this is the most self-indulgent music, and he doesn't really care about the audience. He's doing this for himself. He likes being a creative person, so he puts it out there. And I'm sure there's tons of guitar nerds who really enjoy this stuff, and some obsessive GNR fans, since there's a lot of those. But like, let's be honest.
Wow, he's 40.
Just because you can do this.
He's 45 and he has a bucket on his head.
I mean, he's been doing it for a long time. Like when we just were looking through those records, he's been doing this since the 90s.
He's been in so many bands too.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's arguably a very influential guitarist that guitar nerds really like. But I think the greater point is there's a very big difference between the advice that Zach and I give to bands who are arguably following a band-pop format of trying to write good songs, whereas he's just trying to express and create and fulfill his creative juices, and then if other people enjoy it, it's there and released. He is not trying to be the biggest artist in the world. He's not trying to win a huge fan base. He's just creating for his own output because he got that GNR money.
I love that GNR money. You have any of that?
I actually, technically, all my money should go to GNR because let's always remember, I wanted to be a cop when I grew up until I heard Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Rock and roll changed my life. Arguably saved my life from being horrible.
Okay, I just need to type down this quote. Sorry. I wanted to be a cop before I heard Guns N' Roses. What's it? Is Appetite for Destruction?
Uh-huh.
Appetite for Destruction the first time. Thank you.
Yep. No problem.
That's how I'm going to lead the post for this.
No problem.
Yep.
So, Zach, do you have anything to contribute to this, or should we move on to the next question?
Let's move on past Buckethead. I don't want to keep looking at KFC in case I want to break veg.
Okay. Yeah. That day will come.
You ever eat KFC?
KFC was actually the second of the fast food I quit. I don't think I've eaten
What was
KFC.
number one?
McDonald's. I stopped eating McDonald's at 18, so I've literally not had McDonald's in 19 years. I think it's been 18 years since I've had KFC.
That's almost as long as I've been alive.
Yeah, that's true.
I wonder how McDonald's was back then. I will admit, though,
I
feel like that was probably the heyday of McDonald's.
Popeyes was the last fast food I had. I would have like Brokeback Mountain moments with Popeyes. I'd be like in the dark, like, I can't quit you. It's just so good.
Oh my God. So a few episodes back, Jesse implored bands to write a plethora of songs to be whittled down to 10 or so album tracks during the recording process. I wonder how many songs the Magnetic Fields wrote in preparation for 69 Love Songs, seeing the band managed to produce a rare, critically acclaimed multi-volume record. So this blends well with the question before, really.
So, Zach.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard Magnetic Fields' 69 Love Songs?
I've never heard of the Magnetic Fields.
Okay. So this is one of the greatest records of all time. And like,
what era did this come out in?
I'm going to say early 2000s.
Oh, so not too long ago.
Yes. So this is a record that I always tell my hipster friends, if you love a hipster girl and you want the way to her heart, is find some dumb instrument, figure out how to play some of the songs on this record and sing them to her, and you're in, dude. You're in.
Well,
they're some of the most beautiful, amazing love songs of all time. But here's the thing. I actually was fortunate enough to record the Magnetic Fields a little bit at WFMU. Oh. He wrote that record for so many years, and he had a home studio where he did the majority of the work in. He'd sketch and demo those songs, and he said in interviews that he wrote over 100 songs for this record and tirelessly worked on it for years upon years upon years.
So are there 69 songs on it?
Yeah, there's 3 CD set. There's 69 songs. I would argue that like 40 of them are really amazing. I would argue there's like 30 singles on that record, if not 40.
Wow.
It's truly unbelievably great music. What makes it interesting too is there's, I think, 4 different singers on the record. So you don't really get bored of like, all right, I've heard this guy's voice for far too long. Like it really is switched up great. And the songwriting is just unbelievable. It's a really great record, and something anybody who, if you can stand to listen to indie pop and you like that type of thing, if you're not listening to this record, you're fucking up bad.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, so
the point is, he wrote way more than 69 songs to achieve that level of quality, and he's arguably one of the best songwriters in the game at that point. I think he lost it after that record. And I think this is another thing we should talk about on a future episode.
If you use it, you lose it.
Let's get into this next episode. I'm putting a note in.
The early November record streamed at Noisy last week, and it made me think about this. Why do labels and bands stream records without putting them for sale? Is a promo from the stream worth leaking the album? I understand streaming the album when the album has already leaked, but leaking the album in the stream just seems dumb to me. I'm much more likely to go download the rip so I can listen to the record how I want instead of streaming on a website. Okay, so let's unbox this a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Bands set a release date, and they start working from anywhere from 8 weeks to 6 weeks to 4 weeks from that date on a press plan. And that press plan includes an album announcement, streams, and most importantly, pre-orders. And so often the week before, almost 99% of the time in the modern day, the week before a record comes out, the prior Monday through Wednesday or something, the bands will stream the album in full on a publication of their hopeful choice, or just on YouTube or something like that. The process here isn't that the record's leaking, it's that the band is letting everyone hear it and get excited about it a few days before it comes out in hopes that they can boost up pre-orders or first week sales a little more.
Yeah, this is what we'd call visibility. Like they're counting on that you're going to Stereo Gum and you're seeing that right-hand column that over the course of days, because we all know there's certain days that some people don't check the internet, that you're going to at some point see that this band now has a new record out, and the price they pay for putting this out a little early is visibility.
And well, sure, like someone might rip the record and leak it. Honestly, Jesse, what do you think about me saying this? I feel like leaks are kind of over.
I think that we have another topic for next week.
All right.
Because I do agree to extent that leaks are over, but I think we should get into this when we have more time.
Okay, fair enough. So the worry here is not about the leak at all. It's like, fuck the leak. We made it this far without it. Thank God. Let's try to boost the sales a little more. A label like Run for Cover, often when records stream or come out, will put the music on Bandcamp for $5 instead of $10 digitally, and that's a method. But again, like, the point of the stream is fully to boost sales. Like, don't think about anything else. So, well, I think I get your point. It's much more about promotion, long term and short term.
Okay, so here's my take on it. When people walk into these meetings, and you and I have both been a part of many album launch meetings, the logic they go in with is fucking stupid. A lot of people don't think about these things. They get really dumb hypotheses, and a lot of the time everybody's trying to preserve relationships so the dumb hypothesis doesn't get pushed back on. It is absolutely stupid to ever put up a song from a release where you can't pre-order it.
Yes.
Period. End of story. Full stop. Absolutely dumb. And this is what I'll say, and I go into a great deal about this book. We are bombarded by too much content today. By the time you remind somebody they can now buy it, they may already be sick of your song or not care as much as they did when they got that initial high. The initial high of music is why people buy things, is they get a dopamine release and then they go. I went and saw Julie Ruin the other night. I got a dopamine release. I bought a shirt I am never going to fucking wear because I look ridiculous in it.
I love that move. Not really.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, man.
And you're literally just losing the opportunity. But sadly, between management label and idiot band member, somebody oftentimes is just either, one, their thoughts aren't invested, two, they have a new hypothesis of some fuckboy logic they've come up with, and bad strategy gets implemented. Sometimes it's lack of care. Sometimes it's just bad strategy because somebody has a dumb idea. I will say without a doubt, that shit's dumb.
That shit is dumb, Jesse. Drop your mic.
Yeah.
Drop it.
Okay. What's the best CD place to get CDs made in the general
literally
North?
only answer available is Discmakers.
See, this is I'll go around their question. Why do you have to use the Northeast?
I would say the best place to get CDs made in America is Discmakers.
Well, so for small quantities, that's not true because Nationwide does better prices and
for
better
runs
turnarounds.
of 1,000 or more, disc makers.
Yes. See, this is the thing. Big-time music executive Zach Cirillo only thinks about the big numbers. I'm here for you little people. I'm all about you.
I hate the little people.
Nationwide Disc does better prices than Disc Maker at short runs, as does a company called Copycats, which I don't know where they're based out of, but they're...
Sounds like they're from the South. Sounds like a Texas company to me. I don't know that at all. I just feel like that's a Southern name.
Well, now I have to look at that. They're in New York City. When we talk about dopamine rushes, one of my favorite ones is making you wrong on this podcast. So that's my advice when it comes to that. But there's no reason to stay local. You're not going to pick these things up yourself, usually. So just get them shipped to you and get it done. And as well, Nationwide has very good turnarounds. A lot of the projects I work on do it through them. But yeah, the majority of the time it's Disc Makers because CDs are done.
Disc Makers is great for me for 1,000 runs or more because by that, if you're not in a rush, you can do like different times for delivery. So they have like rush delivery, 3 days, standard 5, and then they have like economy, which is 10 days. And it removes a considerable amount of money from the quote. So you end up getting these CDs for under $1 each, which is great.
See, I don't like supporting them because they own CD Baby, and I think CD Baby is one of the most exploitive businesses there is in the music business right now.
Disc Makers sponsored Property Zach earlier this year.
Oh, that's lovely. So our next question is, if a friend and I are working on separate new tracks, would it be better to release a split as a first release or 2 separate ones?
Can you please read who it's from?
At AVA_35.
Love you, man. I feel for you. I'm sure the situation with Tom is as difficult as it has been for you, as me as it is for you.
Okay, so anyway, splits are great to get other people's audiences, but it sounds like you and your friend probably have the same audience.
Probably.
So split's not going to help that much. It might be better for you to do a split with somebody else that's not as much in your audience. The best thing about splits is they introduce your audience to theirs and theirs audience to yours. It's a nice thing. It's very good. It's one of the best marketing ploys you can do.
Knuckle puck and neck deep.
Yeah, sorority noise and Somos, dog.
Yeah, did it. Love splits. Yeah. Working on a new one right now. Love splits, except they don't make anyone any money.
Well, that is a thing. That is a thing. So, do you have any recommendations?
Yes, I would love to recommend the Avengers 2, Age of Ultron.
I'd love to recommend that you don't waste your time on that.
Sure. The Sorority Noise album got announced today with a new song with a pre-order, and I like it a lot. I am biased because I manage the band, but it's one of my favorite albums of the year. So listen to that. Thank you.
And I'm going to recommend that if you like dance music, you Google PC music and take it all in, because that show I went to this weekend was amazing.
And Jesse will also recommend Montage of Heck.
I recommended that last week.
Oh, you recommend it again. Thank you for listening to Off the Record this week. If you listen live on Adobe, feel free to hit over to iTunes and subscribe to us so you never miss another show. And you can keep up with us and ask us questions at offtherecord.fm. Thank you.